Hello, this is a video about how to put the Odyssey clutch hub back together again after you've taken it apart. Now hopefully you had a good reason for taking it apart, so you've got a new bearing or whatever it is you needed to do. So I'll show you how to put it back together again. Now I've got the hub on its own, you may well have it in a wheel, but the advice is much the same. So we're going to start off by putting the driver back in. So if you can find a nice flat surface to put it in on, and ideally put a bit of plastic, this is just an old bit of plastic box I've cut out, and pop it in there. And it's going to go in here. Okay, now again, wooden mallet, block of wood, or if you've got the proper thing, a plastic or copper mallet. And just tap that gently all the way around, trying to keep it going in straight. So every now and again, just check to make sure it's going in straight. If it's not, a bit more of a tap on the side that needs it. Don't do it in one big bang, just lots of little steady blows. If you don't get this fully seated, it will sort itself out as you ride, because every time you drive, it's obviously pulling itself in on the clutch thread. What I didn't say is put a little bit of grease on the bearing seat before you put it in. Makes it easier. Grease on everything. And there we go. So that's fully seated home now, and it should spin nice and easily like this does. Okay, so once you've got that out, the next part to go back in is the clutch element that goes on the end. Now, you can see this is covered in grease, but don't skimp on grease here. More grease on here is always better. And if you have had this apart, always clean it off if it's actually been in use to get any little shards of metal off there. It's just the same as if you're working on your car or your motorbike or something. Okay, so we pop that in there. This is a reverse thread, so this is a left-hand drive hub, so it's a reverse thread. So just pedal it a little bit to get it into the hub. So that's in now. That's nicely seated. And you can see there's plenty of grease in there. Okay, so having got that in there, the next job is to put the axle back in. So here's the axle sub-assembly. If you've taken this apart, make sure it's back together the right way. This is called the helical adjuster, this thing that adjusts the gap. There's one with a grub screw in, and there's one that doesn't have a grub screw in. Make sure the grub screw one is the one away from the bearing. And there's a hole, because they're the same part, but it doesn't have a grub screw in the other one. Make sure you don't have the two holes facing each other, or when you adjust the grub screw, it'll just go in that hole. So this is fine as I've got it. And again, plenty of grease in here. Okay, so this is ready to go back into here. Now you need to make sure that this is on the flat of the axle and that the teeth of it are going to align with, so these sticky out bits are going to align with the slot in the clutch element. So that'll go down like that, and you can let the axle go down just to make sure. So the axle's gone down past the bearing, just to make sure that it's fully in there. Right, so we're going to drive this together. Now, if we just put it like that and hammer, the bearing will hit the shoulder of the axle. So the axle needs to be able to stick out past the end of the driver. Okay, so the best way to do this is go back to your vise. I don't want to bother with these soft jaws because I'm going to put a rag on. So put a rag on here, get it to a good position, not too wide because you'll start to damage your flanges. Just wide enough to clear the driver with your rag in place. So that's nice and solid there, you can see that in the picture, can't you? Right, we can then use the non-drive side collar to seat this. So we put it on the top like that, and again with your block of wood or rubber mallet. Now I haven't got a rubber mallet, I've got a copper one, and this is aluminium, so I don't want to mark up the aluminium, so I'm just going to put another rag over the top, and fairly easily that should just hammer home like that. Now the test is, can we get the circlip in? So I've pulled the collar back off and have a look at the circlip groove, and you should be able to see it. Now if you look at your circlip, it's usually got a sharp edge and a slightly curved edge. It's a lot easier if that curved edge is going in first and the sharp edge is the outside. It also makes it more secure. So grab it in the circlip pliers with the sharp edge outwards and the curved edge inwards. Squeeze the circlip pliers and put it down. It may not go all the way in, so just push it home into the slot till it clicks home. And you can tell when it's fully home because the circles are almost in the slot. So that's fully secure. Then it's just a case of putting the collar back on that side and the collar back on the other side. Again, this is the bearing in the driver, so plenty of grease on there, and that just pops home, and the O-ring should keep it in place. Then you just need your axle bolts, one for the drive side and one for the non-drive side, and I won't waste your time with me screwing these all the way up. And then if you're using the guard, pop the guard back on. Okay, and you should be all done. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you're enjoying your hub. Thanks.